The massive alien ships appeared over Earth on a Tuesday morning, which was unfortunate timing because Daehyun Park was still in his pajamas drinking coffee. He watched through his apartment window as the enormous vessels blocked out the sun over Seoul. They looked like someone had covered a skyscraper in Christmas lights and then sneezed glitter all over it. His phone buzzed. "Daehyun, get to the office now," said his boss from the Korean Foreign Ministry. "We need our best diplomat for first contact. Can I finish my coffee first?" Daehyun asked, still staring at the ships. "No." 30 minutes later, Daehyun stood in a field outside Seoul wearing jeans, sneakers, and a NASA t-shirt. He carried a box of donuts from his favorite bakery and a thermos of coffee. Around him, news crews from every country pointed cameras at the sky. Social media was already exploding with memes about the alien ships. The largest ship descended slowly, making dramatic whooshing sounds that echoed across the valley. A bright light shot down from the bottom and a figure materialized in the beam. The alien was tall and purple, wearing what looked like a military uniform covered in medals and shiny ribbons. Its head was shaped like an upside-down triangle, and it had 6 eyes that blinked in sequence. "Greetings, primitive beings of Earth," the alien announced in perfect English. Its voice boomed across the field through hidden speakers. "I am Admiral Veltar of the Galactic Hegemony. Your planet has been selected for integration into our glorious empire." Daehyun raised his hand like a student in class. "Excuse me, Admiral Veltar? I'm Daehyun Park, Earth's diplomatic representative." "Nice to meet you." He walked forward with a friendly smile. "Want a donut?" They're glazed. The alien's 6 eyes all focused on Daehyun. It seemed confused by the casual greeting. "Did you not hear my announcement, primitive human? Your world is now part of the Galactic Empire." "Oh, I heard you," Daehyun said, opening the donut box. "But it's Tuesday morning, and I haven't had enough coffee yet to process major life changes. These donuts are really good, though. My grandmother's recipe." Admiral Veltar looked around the field. More humans had gathered, but none of them seemed frightened. Instead, they were taking selfies with the alien ship in the background. Someone had already set up a hot dog cart near the landing site. "Where are your leaders?" Veltar demanded. "Where is your military? Why are you not trembling in fear?" "Oh, President Kim is on his way," Daehyun said, biting into a donut. He had to finish a meeting about traffic laws. "And our military is probably watching this on TV like everyone else. As for trembling," he shrugged, "we've seen scarier things in our movies." A teenager with blue hair walked up to Admiral Veltar and asked, "Can I get a selfie?" "My friends won't believe this without proof." Veltar's eye stalks twisted in confusion. "A selfie?" "Yeah, you know, a picture. For Instagram." The teenager held up her phone. "Say cheese." Before Veltar could respond, the girl had snapped the photo and was already posting it online with the caption, "Alien invasion, but make it fashion. Our first contact is Tuesday vibes on alien selfie." More aliens materialized from the ship. They wore fancy robes and carried what looked like important documents. One of them, with 8 arms and a crown made of crystals, stepped forward. "I am High Counselor Zephex," it announced dramatically. "We bring you the honor of joining 10,000 civilizations under the rule of the Galactic Empire. Surrender your independence and we will allow you to serve our glorious cause." Daehyun offered the Alien Council donuts, but they all declined with disgusted expressions. "Look, Zephex, that's a really generous offer," he said. "But we kind of like being independent. It's sort of our thing." "You misunderstand," Zephex said, its voice getting louder. "This is not a request. This is a declaration. Your planet is now ours." Daehyun said, pretending to think about it. "Let me call my boss." A black car pulled up to the field and President Min-ho Kim stepped out. He was a short, cheerful man wearing a casual suit and running shoes. He walked over to the group of aliens and bowed politely. "Good morning," President Kim said in English. "I'm Min-ho Kim, President of South Korea and current chair of the United Earth Council. I understand you want to add us to your empire." "Finally, a leader who understands the gravity of this situation," Admiral Veltar said, straightening his medals. "Oh, I understand perfectly," President Kim replied with a smile. "And our answer is, thanks but no thanks. We're good." The aliens looked at each other in confusion. High Counselor Zephex stepped forward again. "Perhaps you do not comprehend the power of the Galactic Empire. We have conquered 10,000 worlds. We have weapons that can destroy stars. We have technology beyond your comprehension. President Kim nodded thoughtfully. That's impressive, really. But we've seen your ships, and honestly, they look like someone sneezed on a Christmas tree. Also, if your technology is so advanced, why do you need to conquer people? Can't you just make friends like normal folks? A reporter from CNN pushed forward with a microphone. President Kim, what's Earth's official response to this invasion? President Kim looked directly into the camera. Earth's official response is that we'll think about it. We're flattered by the offer, really, but we're kind of busy right now. We've got climate change to fix, a few wars to end, and it's almost lunchtime. He turned back to the aliens. Tell you what, Admiral Christmas Tree, why don't you park your ship somewhere safe and come back next week? We'll have a proper meeting then. Maybe order some pizza. Admiral Veltar's eyes began blinking rapidly. Christmas tree? Did you just call me Christmas tree? Well, your ship does look festive, Daehyun added helpfully. Very sparkly. By now, thousands of humans had gathered around the landing site. Food trucks had arrived. Someone was selling t-shirts that said, "I survived the Galactic Empire." And a group of teenagers had started a dance party next to the alien ship. The aliens huddled together, whispering in their own language. They kept pointing at the humans and shaking their heads. Finally, Admiral Veltar stepped forward again. This is not how first contact is supposed to proceed, he announced. You are supposed to be afraid. You are supposed to surrender immediately. Sorry to disappoint you, President Kim said. But we don't really do the whole surrendering in fear thing. It's not our style. How about we all calm down and figure this out like adults? The alien fleet remained hovering over Earth, but something had clearly gone wrong with their plan. Admiral Veltar and his council returned to their ship, promising to return with a proper demonstration of power. As the aliens disappeared in their beam of light, Daehyun offered the remaining donuts to the crowd. Within an hour, someone had already created a Wikipedia page about the invasion, complete with memes and a detailed analysis of alien fashion choices. Earth's first contact with the Galactic Empire was officially the most anticlimactic invasion in galactic history. 3 days after the failed invasion, Dr. Yoonji Lee received the strangest phone call of her career. The caller claimed to be Admiral Veltar of the Galactic Empire, and he wanted to invite 2 humans to visit the imperial capital for cultural negotiations. Yoonji was a cultural anthropologist who had spent her life studying how different societies interacted. She had never expected to study alien societies, but she was excited about the opportunity. The government also sent Captain Ho-Jin Choi, a military strategist known for his creative thinking and terrible sense of humor. The alien transport ship that picked them up looked like a luxury hotel inside, but with strange purple lighting and furniture that seemed designed for people with tentacles. Ho-Jin spent the 3-day journey trying to figure out how the toilets worked, while Yoonji took notes on alien interior design. It's very... Yoonji paused, looking around the ship's main corridor. Compensatory. What do you mean? Ho-Jin asked. Look at all these decorations. The giant statues, the oversized doorways, the dramatic lighting. It's like they're trying really hard to impress people. Usually that means someone hurt their feelings at some point. The imperial capital was a massive space station that looked like someone had built a city inside a disco ball. Everything was shiny, enormous, and covered in unnecessary decorations. The aliens who greeted them wore formal robes that dragged on the ground and made walking difficult. Welcome to the heart of the Empire, announced Chancellor Mordex, a tall alien with 4 arms and a crown that was clearly too heavy for his head. You will now witness the glory that awaits your species when you join us. Thank you, Yoonji said politely. Your architecture is very ambitious. Did you hire the same designer who did your ships? Chancellor Mordex seemed pleased by what he thought was a compliment. Indeed. The imperial style represents our dominance over the galaxy. Interesting, Yoonji said, making notes. And the excessive use of shiny objects? Is that also about dominance? Of course. The more shiny, the more powerful. Ho-Jin whispered to Yoonji. These guys have some serious insecurity issues. Their first stop was the Imperial Throne Room, a space so large that it had its own weather system. The Emperor's throne sat at the end of a walkway that was exactly 1 kilometer long. Apparently, visitors were supposed to walk the entire distance while the Emperor watched them approach. This is ridiculous, Ho-Jin said, after walking for 10 minutes. Hey, Emperor guy, can you hear me from up there? His voice echoed through the enormous room. The Emperor? A massive creature covered in golden armor leaned forward on his throne. "Did that small human just shout at me?" the Emperor asked in a voice like thunder. "Sorry about him," Yunji called out. "He has no sense of proper etiquette. But while we're talking, can I ask about the symbolism of this room? The excessive distance between the throne and the entrance suggests deep-seated fears of intimacy and connection." The Emperor's advisors began whispering frantically. No one had ever psychoanalyzed the Imperial throne room before. Their next stop was a meeting with the Imperial War Council, where Ho Jin was supposed to be impressed by their military might. The war room was filled with holograms showing battle plans and weapon specifications. General Klextar, a being that looked like a cross between a rhinoceros and a filing cabinet, began explaining their conquest strategies. "We achieve victory through overwhelming force and superior technology," the general announced proudly. "Our enemies surrender before we even arrive." "That's interesting," Ho Jin said. "But what do you do if they don't surrender?" "They always surrender," General Klextar replied confidently. "But what if they don't? Like, what if they just say no and keep saying no?" The general looked confused. "That does not happen." "Well, it happened to us," Ho Jin pointed out. "So what's your backup plan?" The entire War Council stared at him in silence. Apparently they had never needed a backup plan before. "Well," Ho Jin continued, "in human military strategy we have this technique called strategic retreat. Want me to show you?" Before anyone could answer, Ho Jin demonstrated by running around the war room making airplane noises while pretending to dodge laser fire. The alien generals watched in horrified fascination as he dove behind their tactical displays. "This is a very advanced maneuver," he explained from behind a hologram projector. "The enemy thinks you're running away, but actually you're just repositioning for a better attack angle. Or sometimes you really are just running away, but you make it look tactical." That evening, Yunji was invited to give a presentation about human culture to the Imperial Cultural Council. She had prepared a serious academic talk about human social structures, but when she saw the audience of pompous aliens sitting in their overly decorated chairs, she decided to have some fun. "Human culture is based on several key principles," she began, projecting images onto a holographic display. "First, we believe that taking yourself too seriously is a sign of mental illness." She clicked to the next slide, which showed a picture of a cat wearing a tiny hat. "This is what we call humor. We use it to cope with the fact that the universe is vast, mysterious, and often ridiculous. For example, when your admiral told us we were being conquered, our first reaction was to take pictures and post them online for entertainment." The aliens looked confused. "You found our conquest announcement entertaining?" "Very much so," Yunji continued. "Especially the part where you called yourselves the Galactic Hegemony. That's like calling yourself the universal overlords of everything. It's so over the top that it becomes funny." She clicked to another slide showing memes that humans had created about the alien invasion. One showed Admiral Veltar's ship with the caption, "When you order a UFO from Wish.com." Another featured the Emperor with the text, "Mom said it's my turn to conquer the galaxy." "These are called memes," Yunji explained. "They're how we process information and share cultural ideas. Notice how they reduce your mighty empire to a source of amusement." The Cultural Council was speechless. No one had ever made jokes about the empire before. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Soranam was handling communications with the alien fleet that still hovered over the planet. As Earth's Minister of Foreign Affairs, she had been dealing with the increasingly frantic messages from the Imperial Command. During a video call with Admiral Veltar, she decided to show him what humans had been doing since the invasion announcement. "This is our stock market," she said, showing him financial charts. As you can see, alien invasion had almost no impact on trading. In fact, tourism stocks went up because people want to visit the landing site. She switched to another screen. "This is social media traffic. Your invasion is currently the third most popular topic, behind a video of a dancing cat and a controversy about pineapple on pizza." Admiral Veltar's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your people are not taking this seriously." "Oh, we're taking it seriously," Sora assured him. "We've formed a committee to study the situation. They're meeting next Thursday. We've also created a subcommittee to design welcome gifts for your crew. The current frontrunner is a fruit basket." "A fruit basket?" Veltar repeated weakly. "Korean pears are in season," Sora explained cheerfully. "Very juicy." By the end of the week, both sides were thoroughly confused. The humans had somehow turned the Imperial capital into a comedy show. while Earth continued to treat the invasion like a minor inconvenience. The Galactic Empire, meanwhile, was starting to question everything they thought they knew about conquest. In the Imperial throne room, Emperor Zalthmor sat alone, staring at the memes that Unji had shown them. For the first time in his 1,000-year reign, he was beginning to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the Empire was taking itself a little too seriously. Ho-Jin and Yunji returned to Earth with detailed notes about alien psychology and a collection of shiny souvenirs that the confused aliens had given them. Their report to the government was simple. They're not evil, just really, really insecure. The cultural exchange had gone exactly as planned, just not in the way anyone had expected. Inspector General Wu Jinyang was not having a good day. The Galactic Empire had sent him to Earth to conduct a routine capability assessment of human civilization. The plan was simple: document humanity's primitive technology, file a report confirming their helplessness, and recommend immediate conquest. Instead, Wu Jin was standing in a Korean research facility, staring at what humans casually called their basic faster-than-light engine, and questioning everything he thought he knew about physics. "This is impossible," he muttered in his native Kalarian language. Dr. Hai Young Shin, the xenobiologist assigned to accompany him, was having her own crisis nearby. She was reading a human medical journal and making small whimpering sounds. "Wu Jin," she whispered. "According to this paper, humans regularly survive injuries that would kill most galactic species. One of them fell out of an airplane without a parachute and lived." "Focus, Hai Young," Wu Jin said, though his voice shook slightly. "We need to complete this inspection and report back to the Empire." Their human guide, Dr. Ji-hoon Park from the Korean Institute of Advanced Technology, noticed their distress. "Is everything okay? You both look a little pale. Well, more pale than usual. Your faster-than-light drive," Wu Jin said carefully. "How long have you been using this design?" "Oh, about 15 years, Ji-hoon replied cheerfully. "It's pretty old tech now. We're working on version 4.0, which should be about twice as fast. Want to see the prototype?" Wu Jin felt dizzy. The Empire's most advanced FTL drives were only half as efficient as what humans considered old tech. He made a note in his report pad, then deleted it, then wrote it again. "Perhaps we could see your military installations next," Hai Young suggested weakly. "Sure," Ji-hoon said. "Though I should warn you, most of our military bases are pretty boring. The really interesting stuff happens at the extreme sports facilities." An hour later, they stood at the edge of a cliff watching humans throw themselves off the mountain while attached to fabric wings. The activity was called wingsuit flying, and it involved jumping off very high places and gliding through the air at speeds that would liquefy most alien species. "This is recreational?" Wu Jin asked. "Yeah, it's pretty popular," said their new guide, Captain Min-seok Lee. "Though if you want to see something really crazy, you should check out free climbing. That's where people climb mountains without any safety equipment." Hai Young was frantically taking notes. "And your species does this for fun?" "Well, some of us do it for fun," Min-seok said. "Others do it to train for military operations. Our special forces use these techniques for high-altitude insertions." "High-altitude insertions," Wu Jin repeated slowly. "From how high?" "Depends on the mission. Sometimes we drop from the edge of space. The record is about 40 kilometers up." Both aliens stared at him. In the Empire, soldiers were dropped from a maximum height of 50 meters, and that was considered extremely dangerous. Their next stop was even worse for their peace of mind. The Mars Colony Director, Jae-won Park, gave them a tour of humanity's terraforming operation with the casual air of someone showing off their vegetable garden. "We started with basic atmospheric processing," Jae-won explained as they walked through a dome filled with earth plants growing in Martian soil. "Nothing fancy, just introducing oxygen-producing bacteria and some hardy plant species." "Atmospheric processing," Hai Young whispered to Wu Jin, "is considered theoretical by imperial science. The tricky part was the soil," Jae-won continued. "Mars dirt is pretty toxic, so we had to engineer some special microorganisms to break down the perchlorate. Took us about 3 years to get it right." Wu Jin was no longer taking notes. His hands were shaking too much to write. The Empire had spent centuries trying to develop terraforming technology. Humans had figured it out as a side project. "How many people live here now?" he asked. "About 50,000, Jae-won said. "We're planning to hit 100,000 by next year." Want to see the underground cities? We've got 3 levels so far, with plans for 7 more. Underground cities. Humans had built underground cities on Mars. For fun. Their final stop was the Seoul Advanced Robotics Lab, where engineer Yoo-Jin Kang was working on what she called basic artificial intelligence projects. She introduced them to her assistant, an AI that looked like a floating metal sphere with blue lights. "This is Arya," Yoo-Jin said. "She helps me with calculations and design work." "Hello," Arya said in a pleasant female voice. "Welcome to our lab. I understand you're from the Galactic Empire. I've been reading about your technology online. Very traditional." Woo-Jin and Hai-Young exchanged glances. The AI had just insulted the Empire's technology. "Arya has a bit of a personality," Yoo-Jin explained. "All our AIs do. We found that artificial intelligence works better when it can express opinions and make jokes." "Your artificial intelligences make jokes?" Hai-Young asked faintly. "Oh yes," Arya chimed in. "For example, why did the Imperial fleet take so long to reach Earth? Because they were using GPS systems from the First Galactic Empire." Yoo-Jin laughed. "Good one, Arya. Though maybe go easy on our guests." "Sorry," Arya said, not sounding sorry at all. "I'm still learning appropriate social interactions, unlike Imperial AIs, which apparently never learned them at all." That evening, Woo-Jin and Hai-Young sat in their hotel room staring at their inspection reports. The documents were supposed to be simple assessments of human capabilities. Instead, they read like science fiction novels. "We can't submit these," Hai-Young said. "No one will believe them, but they're all true," Woo-Jin replied. "I've verified everything 3 times. Humans have better FTL technology than we do. They terraform planets for practice. They've created artificial intelligences with personality disorders. They throw themselves off cliffs for entertainment. Don't forget," Woo-Jin added, "they also apparently have food delivery services that can bring hot meals to any location on the planet within 30 minutes. That might actually be the most impressive thing," Hai-Young admitted. "They tried calling Admiral Veltar to report their findings, but the conversation didn't go well." "You're telling me," Veltar said over the video link, "that the humans are technologically superior to the Empire?" "Not superior," Woo-Jin corrected. "Just different. They approach problems from angles we never considered. For example," Hai-Young added, "when they needed to get to Mars, they didn't spend decades developing advanced propulsion systems. They just built bigger rockets and shot them into space until one worked." "That's ridiculous," Veltar said. "You can't solve complex engineering problems by just trying random things." "Actually," came a voice from behind them, "that's exactly how we solve most problems." They turned to see Dr. Do-Yeon Kim, a physicist from Seoul National University, standing in their hotel doorway. She was carrying a stack of papers and looked excited. "Sorry to interrupt," Do-Yeon said, "but I heard you were having trouble understanding our approach to science. I thought you might be interested in these." She handed them several research papers with titles like "Faster Than Light Travel, A Trial and Error Approach and Terraforming Mars, What We Learned from Our Mistakes." "The key to human innovation," Do-Yeon explained, "is that we're not afraid to fail. We try things, see what happens, and learn from the results. It's not very elegant, but it's effective." Woo-Jin looked at the papers. One of them appeared to solve a mathematical problem that Imperial scientists had been working on for 300 years. The solution was presented as an undergraduate homework assignment. "This equation," he said, pointing to a formula, "our best mathematicians have been trying to derive this for centuries." "Oh, that's just basic calculus," Do-Yeon said. "My students work through it in about 20 minutes. Though, to be fair, they do complain about it being boring." After Do-Yeon left, Woo-Jin and Hai-Young sat in silence for a long time. "I think," Hai-Young said finally, "we may have made a mistake coming here." "The Empire has made a mistake," Woo-Jin corrected. "We just discovered it." Outside their hotel window, Seoul hummed with activity. Humans went about their daily lives, completely unaware that they had just accidentally proved themselves to be the most capable species in the galaxy. They were too busy planning weekend trips to Mars and teaching their AIs to make better jokes. The inspection was complete, but Woo-Jin and Hai-Young still had no idea how to explain their findings to the Empire. How do you tell your superiors that the primitive species they wanted to conquer has been casually breaking the laws of physics for decades? They decided to stay on Earth a few more days to gather additional data. In reality, they wanted to experience what it was like to live in a civilization that treated the impossible as merely inconvenient. It was, they had to admit, quite refreshing. Ambassador Kyung-Soo Lee was having the strangest diplomatic crisis of his career, and that was saying something because he once had to negotiate a peace treaty between two countries that were fighting over the correct way to fold napkins. The problem was that both humans and aliens were completely misunderstanding each other, and every attempt to clarify things only made the confusion worse. It started when Kyung-Soo attended a routine diplomatic meeting with the Imperial Council via hologram. He had been trying to explain why Earth wasn't interested in joining the Galactic Empire, but somehow the conversation had turned into a philosophical discussion about work-life balance. "Let me understand this correctly," said High Chancellor Mordex, his forearms gesturing frantically. "You believe that citizens should only work 8 hours per day?" "Well, that's the standard," Kyung-Soo replied, "though many people work less. Some of our most productive citizens only work 4-day weeks." The alien council members began whispering to each other in alarmed tones. "And what do your people do during their non-work time?" asked Councillor Vexara, a being that looked like a cross between a jellyfish and a filing cabinet. "Oh, lots of things," Kyung-Soo said cheerfully. "They spend time with family, pursue hobbies, exercise, travel, learn new skills. Some people take entire months off just to relax." The whispering grew louder. In the Galactic Empire, citizens worked 14 hours a day, 7 days a week with 1 rest day per month. The concept of voluntary leisure time was revolutionary. "And your economy doesn't collapse?" Mordex asked weakly. "Actually, we're more productive when people are well rested and happy," Kyung-Soo explained. "Tired, stressed workers make more mistakes." Within hours, word of this conversation had spread throughout the Empire. On 12 different worlds, workers began asking their supervisors about vacation days and work-life balance. 3 planets reported productivity increases after workers started taking lunch breaks. Meanwhile, Admiral Soojin Park was dealing with her own diplomatic incident. The Imperial Navy had begun conducting intimidating fleet maneuvers near Earth's moon, apparently to demonstrate their military superiority. Soojin's response was to send them educational videos. Admiral Park, her aide, Lieutenant Dongwoo Kim, asked nervously, "Are you sure we should be showing them scenes from Top Gun and the Avengers?" "Why not?" Soojin replied, uploading another video file. "They want to see human military capabilities. These movies show our tactical doctrine perfectly." "But those are fictional movies," Dongwoo pointed out. "They don't know that," Soojin said with a grin. The alien fleet watched in growing horror as humans demonstrated their ability to perform impossible aerial maneuvers, survive explosions that should have vaporized them, and coordinate attacks with split-second timing. The fact that the videos included dramatic music and slow-motion sequences only made them more convincing. Admiral Veltar called an emergency meeting with his fleet commanders after watching a video of Iron Man single-handedly destroying an alien invasion force. "These humans," he said, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly. "They have individual soldiers who can fly through space and destroy entire fleets. The documentation shows dozens of such warriors," reported Captain Zeklon. "And that's just from their entertainment archives." "Entertainment," Veltar repeated. "You mean these are their training videos?" No one corrected him. Back on Earth, the misunderstandings were escalating in both directions. Dr. So-Min Young, Earth's head xenopsychologist, was trying to analyze alien behavior based on their increasingly frantic diplomatic messages. Their communication patterns suggest extreme anxiety, she explained to President Kim during an emergency cabinet meeting. "They're either planning a massive attack or they're having some kind of collective nervous breakdown." "Which do you think it is?" President Kim asked. "Honestly, both. I think they're planning an attack because they're having a nervous breakdown. The problem was that humans had started interpreting the aliens' increasingly desperate threats as an elaborate practical joke. When the Empire announced they were bringing their planet destroyer fleet to Earth, human social media exploded with memes about aliens who couldn't take a hint. One popular meme showed Admiral Veltar with the caption, "When you try to conquer a planet but they keep offering you snacks instead." Another featured the Emperor with the text, "Spent 10,000 years conquering the galaxy. Still can't handle humans saying no thanks." The aliens, meanwhile, were interpreting human casual confidence as evidence of vast hidden power. When Earth's response to the planet destroyer fleet was a politely worded note suggesting they park somewhere less crowded, the Empire assumed humans had weapons, capable of destroying their entire armada. Scientist Yun Kim made things worse by accidentally solving another ancient imperial scientific mystery during a live-streamed university lecture. She was explaining quantum mechanics to her students when she casually derived a formula that had stumped imperial physicists for millennia. "This is just basic wave-particle duality," she told her class, writing equations on the whiteboard. "Though I suppose if you approach it from a purely mathematical perspective, without considering practical applications, it could seem more complicated than it actually is." The lecture was being monitored by imperial scientists, who immediately reported that humans had effortlessly solved the great quantum paradox of Zephyria as part of an introductory physics class. Emperor Zalthmore called an emergency session of the Imperial War Council after receiving this news. "Not only do they have superior technology and unstoppable warriors," he announced, "but their young students casually solve scientific problems that have puzzled our greatest minds for centuries." "What are your orders, Your Magnificence?" asked General Klextar. "Bring everything," the Emperor commanded. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. If we're going to fight beings this powerful, we need to use our full strength." Back on Earth, President Kim received a formal declaration of war from the Galactic Empire. The document was 15 pages long and full of elaborate threats about unleashing the full might of 10,000 worlds. Kim's response was a single sentence: "Are you guys okay? You seem really stressed." This reply was interpreted by the Empire as the ultimate display of confidence. Only a civilization certain of victory would respond to a formal declaration of war with concern for their enemies' mental health. The misunderstandings reached their peak when Ambassador Kyung-soo tried to arrange a peaceful meeting between Earth's leaders and the Imperial Council. The aliens agreed, but insisted the meeting take place on neutral ground, a space station exactly halfway between Earth and the Imperial capital. "We accept your terms," Kyung-soo replied, "but can we bring sandwiches? These diplomatic meetings always run long and people get cranky when they're hungry." The Imperial Council spent 3 days analyzing this message, convinced it contained some kind of coded threat. The mention of cranky people was interpreted as a warning about human berserker warriors who became dangerous when not properly fed. Meanwhile, Earth's preparation for the meeting involved exactly what Kyung-soo had said: making sandwiches. Lots of them. The Korean diplomatic team had learned that most conflicts could be resolved more easily when everyone had something to eat. "Should we bring the kimchi?" asked Secretary Park Min-jung. "Definitely," Kyung-soo replied, "but maybe pack some milder options too. We don't know how alien digestive systems handle fermented cabbage." As both sides prepared for what they believed would be the most important diplomatic meeting in galactic history, neither realized they were preparing for completely different events. The Empire was mobilizing for a last-ditch negotiation before total war. Earth was packing a picnic. The stage was set for the most confused peace talks in the history of the galaxy, with both sides absolutely certain they understood the situation perfectly, and both sides being completely wrong. Admiral Soo-jin Park summed up the human perspective in her final report to Earth Command. "The aliens are definitely overreacting about something. Hopefully we can calm them down with some good food and reasonable conversation." Admiral Veltar's report to the Empire was slightly different. The humans continue to display terrifying confidence in their superior abilities. Their latest message suggests they intend to demonstrate their power to make people cranky, presumably some form of psychological warfare. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. Everyone involved was certain it would resolve the crisis. Everyone involved was wrong about almost everything else. The neutral space station looked like someone had designed a conference room in the middle of a jewelry store. Everything was chrome and crystal, with dramatic lighting that made everyone look either very important or very tired. Ambassador Kyung-soo Lee sat at one end of a table that was probably worth more than most countries' annual budgets, unpacking sandwiches from a cooler. "Did you remember the napkins?" asked Dr. Ji-won Song, Earth's chief psychologist, who had been brought along because someone thought this might be a mental health intervention. "Got them. Kyung-soo replied, setting out paper plates. Plus, I brought those little wet wipes. You never know with first contact situations. At the other end of the table, Emperor Zalthamor sat surrounded by his full Imperial Council, war generals, and enough bodyguards to conquer a small moon. He was wearing his most intimidating armor, which weighed approximately as much as a small car and made sitting down a complex engineering challenge. Your Magnificence, whispered High Chancellor Mordex. The humans appear to be eating. Is this some kind of power display? The Emperor asked nervously. Are they showing us they're so confident they can consume resources in our presence? President Taemin Yoon, who had replaced President Kim after the last election, took a bite of his sandwich and noticed the aliens staring at him. Oh, sorry, he said, swallowing quickly. Would you like one? They're ham and cheese. We also have turkey if you prefer. The aliens recoiled as if he had offered them weapons-grade plutonium. Your Excellency, Emperor Zalthmor said formally, we have come to discuss the terms of your surrender before our final assault on your planet. President Yoon paused mid-chew. I'm sorry, what now? The surrender, the Emperor repeated, of your planet to us. Before we destroy it. President Yoon looked at Ambassador Kyung-soo, who shrugged and continued making sandwiches. He looked at Dr. Song, who was taking notes and frowning. Okay, President Yoon said slowly. I think there might be some confusion here. We're not surrendering anything. And why would you want to destroy our planet? That seems wasteful. Emperor Zalthmor's massive armored form shifted uncomfortably. This was not going according to plan. Because you have defied the might of the Galactic Empire. Have we? President Yoon asked. I mean, we just said we didn't want to join your club. That's not really defiance, it's just polite declining. You mocked our technological superiority. We did? When? High Chancellor Mordex leaned forward. Your Admiral Park sent us videos of your military capabilities. Soldiers who can fly through space. Warriors who can destroy entire fleets single-handedly. President Yoon looked confused. Those were movies, weren't they? Movies? Emperor Zalthmor repeated. You know, fictional entertainment. Stories we make up for fun. President Yoon pulled out his phone and showed them a movie trailer. See? It says right here, not based on a true story. The Imperial Council exchanged panicked glances. But your technology, stammered General Klextar. Your faster-than-light drives, your terraforming capabilities, your artificial intelligences. Oh, that stuff is real, President Yoon admitted. But it's not really that impressive. We just kind of figured it out as we went along. Dr. Song had been watching the aliens carefully during this exchange, and she was starting to understand something important. Excuse me, she interrupted gently. Emperor Zalthmor, can I ask you something personal? The Emperor's armor creaked as he turned toward her. What? How long have you been in charge of the Empire? 1,237 years, he replied proudly. And how many friends do you have? The question hung in the air like a particularly awkward silence. Emperor Zalthmor's advisors began whispering frantically. Friends? The Emperor repeated. Yes, friends. People you spend time with because you enjoy their company. People you can relax around, be yourself with. I have advisors. And subjects. And conquered vassals. But friends? Dr. Song pressed gently. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. The Empire does not require friendship, he said finally. But his voice sounded less certain than before. Actually, Dr. Song said, pulling out a tablet. I've been analyzing your Empire's behavior patterns, and I think you might have the largest case of collective social anxiety in galactic history. That's ridiculous, High Chancellor Mordex protested. We are the supreme power in the galaxy. Right, Dr. Song continued, but think about it. You conquer other civilizations instead of just asking if they want to be friends. You build enormous ships and palaces to impress people. You have elaborate ceremonies and protocols for everything. And when someone says no thanks to joining your group, you immediately assume they're plotting against you. She turned to address the full Imperial Council. You're not evil conquerors. You're just really, really lonely and don't know how to make friends normally. The silence that followed was deafening. Emperor Zalthmor's armor made small clicking sounds as he fidgeted. Furthermore, Dr. Song continued, your entire military strategy is based on the assumption that everyone is as socially anxious as you are. You've never encountered a species that just wasn't impressed by intimidation, but we are mighty. General Kleckstar insisted weakly. Yes, you are, President Yoon agreed. You're very mighty. But you're also clearly miserable. When was the last time any of you had fun? Fun? Emperor Zalthmore repeated the word like it was from an alien language, enjoyment, relaxation, doing things because they make you happy instead of because they maintain your image. Kyung-soo had finished setting up the lunch and was now offering plates to the alien delegation. Here, try a sandwich. Sometimes it's easier to talk about difficult things when you're eating. To everyone's surprise, High Chancellor Mordex accepted a plate. He examined the sandwich carefully, then took a small bite. His forearms trembled slightly. This is pleasant, he admitted. It's just a sandwich, Kyung-soo said kindly. Sometimes simple things are the best things. Emperor Zalthmore watched his chancellor eating human food and making small, happy sounds. Mordex, what are you doing? I'm enjoying something, Mordex replied, looking surprised by his own words. When was the last time I enjoyed anything? The Emperor considered this question and realized he couldn't remember the last time he had enjoyed anything either. For over 1,000 years, his life had been an endless series of formal ceremonies, military campaigns, and administrative duties designed to maintain the Empire's image of invincible authority. We could teach you, President Yoon offered. How to make friends, I mean. It's not that complicated. You would do that, the Emperor asked, even after we threatened to destroy your planet. Sure, President Yoon said with a shrug. You're clearly having some issues, but you're not actually bad people. You're just confused about how relationships work. Dr. Song nodded. What if, instead of conquering civilizations, you tried just asking them to hang out? You might be surprised how many species would actually like to be friends with you. But what about our mighty empire? General Kleckstar asked. Keep it, Kyung-soo suggested. Just change the name. Instead of the Galactic Empire, call it the Galactic Friendship Council or something like that. The Galactic Friendship Council, Emperor Zalthmore repeated slowly. That does sound nice. By the end of the meeting, the Imperial Council had agreed to try a new approach to galactic relations. Instead of conquest, they would attempt what humans called cooperative partnership. Instead of demanding tribute, they would offer mutual aid. And instead of imposing imperial culture on other worlds, they would try to learn from different civilizations. Chancellor Sang-woo Jeon, who had replaced several previous officials in Earth's rapidly changing government, offered to host the first official Galactic Friendship BBQ in Seoul the following month. We'll provide the food and music, he said. You bring whoever you want from across the galaxy. No formal protocols, no elaborate ceremonies, just people hanging out and getting to know each other. A barbecue, Emperor Zalthmore mused. Informal social gathering. No armor required? No armor required, Sang-woo confirmed. In fact, armor is probably discouraged. Hard to relax when you're wearing a few 100 pounds of metal. 3 months later, the former Galactic Empire officially renamed itself the Galactic Friendship Council. Emperor Zalthmore took the title of Chief Friend Coordinator and discovered that he was actually quite good at organizing social events once he stopped trying to intimidate everyone. The inaugural Galactic BBQ was held in Seoul's Olympic Park and was attended by representatives from over 300 worlds. Admiral Veltar spent the afternoon teaching alien children how to play frisbee. High Chancellor Mordex discovered that he had a talent for karaoke. General Kleckstar learned to make kimchi and immediately requested the recipe to take back to his home planet. The barbecue was such a success that it became an annual event. Within 5 years, the Galactic Friendship Council had more member worlds than the old empire ever conquered, and member species actually wanted to be there. As for humanity, they were officially designated as the Council's social anxiety counselors and cultural integration specialists. It turned out that humans' natural talent for not taking themselves too seriously was exactly what the galaxy needed. President Yoon summed up the whole experience in his memoirs.